okay. Hell, at this point, you're more okay than me.
Welcome to Hudson Bears!
Hello everyone and welcome back. As you may know, it is currently the beta test weekend for The Division, so I thought I'd jump in and see what this game is all about. Here we are in the starting area called Camp Hudson. The only other things here of interest are going to be a couple of vendors. The Division is an RPG after all, and here is how you start to see how different equipment can impact your player. As you can see, each of the items contribute not only to your armor, but to 3 stats: firearms, stamina, and electronics. These stats will contribute to your DPS, health, and skill power respectively. If you're a Destiny player, you might recognize this as the system used in Destiny for intellect, discipline, and strength. Also, as you can see, each piece of gear will give you major and minor attributes. In this instance, it looks like the backpack and the chest piece will give you some additional ammo capacity. The first place of interest is going to be your base of operations. This spot is a safe zone that is really important to your character's progression. It is made up of 3 different wings: medical, security, and tech. Those are the different categories that you can focus your character's abilities, so you can think of them as your character's class. The nice thing about it is that you're not locked into one of those categories. You can have mostly a focus on medical with a little bit of tech, or maybe mostly security with a little bit of medical. It's really whatever suits your playstyle. But moving on to the focus of this video, and that is giving you a tour of the menu. There's a lot going on in the menu, and it's going to introduce you to a lot of the different aspects of the game. So let's start with the top left corner, and that's the Intel section. The first tab of the Intel section is not available to us in the beta, and that's the Evidence section. It looks like these are items you can find out in the world, and they're going to contribute to your security, medical, and tech progressions. More on those 3 categories in just a minute. But moving on to the Field Data tab that we do have access to, it looks like this is another collection of items that's going to flesh out the story a little bit more for us. These range from audio recordings to fully fleshed out 3D interactive environments. Moving on to Group Management, the second section in your menu. Here is where you can keep track of the group that you're in, as well as any friends that are online for you to invite or join. This is also where you can set your privacy from open to friends only to private. And now moving on to the map. Here's where we can get an idea of how big this game actually is. In this interface, you can choose your mission, enter matchmaking, set a waypoint, and even fast travel to a previously discovered location. But let's zoom out and get a little sense of where we are. Here you can see the zone outlined in a red line. That's going to be what's available to us in the beta. And as you can see, the only real district here is Chelsea, as well as a little bit of Midtown. In fact, most of Midtown is what makes up what's known as the Dark Zone. The Dark Zone is a special PvE/PvP area, and we'll go over that in a future video. But for the purposes of the beta, we have access to Dark Zone 01 and 02. But once the full game is released, it looks like we're going to have access to Hell's Kitchen, Clinton, and the Times Square area, so that's pretty cool for the west side here. And the really cool thing I like about what they've done with the districts is that each district is actually a different level range, so it's kind of like having different areas in an MMO. And moving on to the east of what is available to us, we have the Tenderloin, Flatiron District, Gramercy, Stuyvesant, Kips Bay, Murray Hill, Turtle Bay, and Midtown East, with these final 3 being what I assume to be some of the higher level areas. And that's just observing their proximity to some of the higher end Dark Zone areas. There was also some footage that I found of it taking place in Brooklyn as well, but it looks like that part has been cut out from the game since you can't really explore past Midtown Manhattan. But that just may be something they add in a future release. Anyways, moving on to the next part of your menu, and that is the Abilities section. Your abilities are broken into 3 different sections: skills, talents, and perks. Skills are abilities that you have access to out in the middle of combat. They can range from a healing bomb to a defense turret to a riot shield. And to use them, you map them to your L1 and R1 buttons. These abilities work off of a cooldown, so that's where your skill power comes in. Each skill also has its own progression with different modifications to give you a slightly different effect. There are also some super abilities you can unlock later on, which is kind of similar to supers in Destiny. They are abilities you can map to a center slot, as you can see there at the bottom. And it looks like it's going to be able to provide things like a bigger burst of healing or a bigger defensive shield. Moving on to talents, those are going to be some passive abilities that you can equip into different slots as well. Sadly, talents are not available in the beta, but we can look through into the garbled mess behind it to try to get an idea of what these might be. Or at least the one that I can make out in the medical column is adrenaline. And from trying to read the description as best as I can, it looks like it's going to be able to overheal you with a med pack. That means if you use a med pack without really needing it, it's going to overheal you, giving you some additional health. This again harkens back to your focus as a player and which role you want your character to take. Either way, it looks like you're going to have to slot these talents as you unlock them. As you can see, you start with 4 slots and maybe a 5th slot available at level 5. The next tab is perks, and sadly it is also not available in the beta. But it looks like these are going to be permanently unlocked passive abilities. As you can sort of make out, this first one in the medical column is to simply have an extra slot available for your medkits. And from watching some of the alpha footage, I know that the first one in the security column is for extra experience. So these are more innate abilities, further cementing you into your class. The next section is inventory, and I'm actually going to hold off on that for now because it's big enough to have its own video. It covers everything from weapons to mods to gear, and I want to make sure that I go over everything in good detail. So you can expect more on that in the coming days. Now, I haven't spent a lot of time with The Division yet, but my impressions so far are very positive. There are a lot of really neat concepts in this game, and I can't wait to explore all of them in the full release. Let me know your impressions of The Division in the comments below. Drop a like if you can, and subscribe for more content. And I will see you all next time.